ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా,
I'm reminded of one experience that I've had. It was in the year 2007, and oftentimes all of us, we sit with letters to be given to Bhagwan. I used to give only one letter to Bhagwan in the whole year, and that was on my birthday, because that is the only occasion where I can legitimately walk up to Bhagwan, Swami will bless me, and then he will take the letter. I'm sure each one of us have experienced that. And so I was also sitting on my birthday with a letter, and Swami did not take my letter, which was a very common thing also. And generally what I used to do is, if Swami does not take my letter that day, I will simply tear it and throw it off, because I know that the contents of the letter have already reached Bhagwan. Because whatever is there in the letter, Swami already knows. There is no need to give a letter. And if Swami wouldn't take, so be it. So that day I had come back to hostel, and I was changing, and I was about to get rid of this letter, when somebody said that Sainath sir was giving a Parayanam, was telling us stories about Bhagwan, just like we are now hearing. And so I ran for that Parayanam session. And Sainath sir, out of all the days on that day, was talking about a very interesting episode that happened. See how Bhagwan organizes this entire thing. He was talking about a very interesting debate that all the students had many, many years ago. The debate was whether we should write letters to Swami or not. One set of boys were saying there is no need to write letters to Bhagwan because Swami knows everything. And the other party was saying we should write letters to Bhagwan, okay, because that is our chance to go close to him. So this was a debate that happened, and obviously there was no direct conclusion to this debate. All the boys slept that evening. Next day morning, Swami was inside the interview room. Swami sent word for Sainath sir. Sainath sir entered into the interview room, and he noticed that there was a big pile of letters on Swami's left-hand side. Swami was picking a letter and throwing it into the dustbin. Picking up another letter, throwing it into the dustbin. And then picking up yet another letter, opening it up, and it was happening in a very random fashion. So this was a shocking experience for Sainath sir. He says, he was looking at this entire exercise, and saying, what is this in his mind? What is this happening? Swami is simply throwing away letters without even reading them. All those devotees with so much of joy, they have written letters to him, and he's simply throwing them. And even as this thought was crossing his mind, Swami looked at Sainath sir and said, what are you thinking? Okay, he said, no Swami, nothing. And then Swami said, you are thinking why I am doing this. And Swami said, come here. And you know Bhagwan's very unpredictable. Sometimes he will call and he'll hit you. So he said, no Swami, I'm very comfortable where I'm standing. So no, Swami said, come here and pick up one letter from here, from this pile. So he went, picked up a letter. Swami said, open it and read it at the back of the room. Go and read it to yourself. And so he opened the letter, and it was a letter from a Bengali gentleman who was telling Swami that he had come 6 months back, and he had a problem. One of his child was not well, and he had prayed to Bhagwan and had received Bhagwan's prasadam, and that prasadam had cured that child. And this was a letter of gratitude to Bhagwan, was the content of the letter. And as he finished the letter, he looked at Bhagwan, and Swami looked at him and says, kya bolta hai that Bengali gentleman, kya bolta hai? That he came here 6 months back, and his child was not well, and Swami gave him prasadam, and now his child is very well, and so he is very happy, and so he is thanking Bhagwan. Swami read out the entire contents of that letter. Obviously, the Omniscient Lord knows everything. This is where suddenly Sainath sir recollected the previous night's discussion, and he said, Swami, then is it necessary to write a letter to you? You anyway know everything. Is there any necessity to write a letter to you? And then Swami said a very beautiful thing. Swami said, see, remember, it is in response to your prayers that I took up this form. I came down on earth is in response to your prayers. Each one of us have prayed for God knows how many janmas that the Lord comes down in physical form. And now that Swami has come in physical form, we suddenly say, he is omniscient, he is omnipresent, he is omnipotent. Isn't it funny? The same Lord, when he was not in physical form, we could have thought, isn't it, that he is omnipresent, he is omniscient. When the Lord takes a form and comes, suddenly we discover his omnipresence, his omniscience and his omnipotence, and says, there is no need to write a letter to Bhagwan because Bhagwan knows everything. Swami said, you jolly well should write a letter to me because it is in your answer to your prayers I have come. Now it is your duty to take that effort to come up to me because your redemption lies in being close to me. I have taken that 100 steps towards you. You have to take that one step towards me, and that is of writing a letter. Because in the process of writing a letter, we are actually achieving Trikarna Shuddhi. When we are writing our feelings to Bhagwan, we are thinking of Bhagwan, we are speaking out those words, and we are writing. At that moment, there is unity and purity in our thought, word, and deed. And therefore, we must write a letter to Bhagwan. This was what I heard on that evening. I said, yes, I am not going to tear that letter. I am going to sit with that letter because this is my opportunity to come close to Bhagwan. Of course, it was another kind of tapas because it was 4 months before I finally gave that letter to Bhagwan.
To teach my